Well, you little rat, you think you outsmarted me? You're gonna get my watermelon plant? Well, I got you. More on that later.
Hi everybody, it's Robbie from Southern California, and today I am going to redo all this tulle on these blocks in my front yard. As you can see, the tulle has seen better days. It is finally falling apart, and the rabbit got in here and ate my green sorrel. This one he didn't. I covered with a trash can. Look at that. He didn't get that, but now I'm starting to put these containers in here. See what I do? I put square containers in the blocks, fill it up with soil, and now I can plant in there because the blocks, they draw water away from the plants. But when I have containers in there, this way they'll hold the water, so I just water this, and then the roots can go down out of the container and go inside. So I'm getting this all prepped and ready to go. They'll probably get mainly walking onions. I'll probably pull out this kale, the one that the deer came through and ate. We don't need to have that here, but the main thing is I want to get all this old tulle off and new tulle on. I'm going to take you with me, but you know what? Let's go talk about the different colors and the tulle before I get started. And keep in mind, no matter what color you pick, it all will work to keep the critters away no matter what. Color doesn't matter to the critters. Color only matters to you. Let's go get this started. So here I am again, back in the front yard, where I am going to have to retool all this because it's been almost 2 years. The rabbit's getting to some of the things. It's about ready to be freshened up. What does it cost? A whole bolt costs less than $10. And this is a company I've been getting all my tulle from. They're fast shipping, free shipping, and really it's been the best price I could find anywhere at $9.99 a bolt. And if you buy more, they even reduce the price. So if you can't find the link, I'll put it underneath. Just ask me underneath the video and I'll post the link for you and for others to see as well. Wanted to show you some colors before we get into it, and I'm going to let you know all the new things I'm doing with this. And let me tell you, this has been a lifesaver. And without tulle, I would probably get half of what I normally pick and get out of our gardens. This is one of my favorite. This one is hunter green. It's a very dark green. And this one was mint and hunter. It was mixed, I believe. I can't remember. It's been so long. It looks like mint right now because it's so light. It will bleach out after a year or so. But this is hunter green, my favorite. It kind of matches a lot in the garden. Now this one, let's see which one. I think this is red. And this is really bright. This is Gary's favorite. Gary's got red, and we've got a couple other colors here. I'll show you. All right. They're everywhere. This was coral. This was the first one he picked out. He thought it would be really bright in his garden, and he wanted to wrap different fruit with it, and he figured he'd be able to see it, but it really wasn't as bright as he thought it was, because when you open it, you can see it's very light. It's still fine, and he still uses it. This one is red. This is the one he's using now. He has a coffee plant that something got to some of his coffee beans, so he wrapped it. Now see how much this is darker? This is what he likes. It's very vivid and very bright. So he likes the red. It's very bright. So that's the red. So Gary likes the red and the coral. I'll just show you some of the colors that I get from this company. It's like $10. It's $9.99. And if you buy 4, it comes out to be, I think, under $8. 4 bolts at one time. I like buying 3 because they send it in a big box. When you buy 1, they take it off the cardboard and then they fold it up. But I like storing it on the cardboard, so I always buy 3. I've even bought 4 before. But it's $9.99 for 54 inches wide. And 40 yards long. That's not a mistake. 40 yards, not 40 feet, 40 yards long. Believe you me, it's the best $10 you'll ever spend. This is white. We all know what white is. Now this is another color I buy periodically. This is emerald green. It will also go really nice in your garden. And it's bright, but it is pretty. It depends on what whatever you want. And this one is mint. This is a very light one, and it's fine. It's almost like a white when you open it up, but it is mint green. So now you've seen the colors, and so it's, you know, whatever color you want. But my new favorite is black. Black is my new favorite. I started using black around the yard. And I figured, you know, you go into fancy gardens and what do they have? Black wrought iron fencing. And the reason is the plants blend into it. So your eye goes to all the plants and not the colored tools, not something that's colorful. And I figured I'm going to try black. And you know what? I like black. Look at this. It really makes everything look good. And I like the color. It doesn't take away from anything else growing in the garden. It's neutral. It's probably, these two would be my favorite. I would now only order the hunter green or the black. And this is so bright where this has been tooled, where the rabbit's been now getting into because it's falling apart. So I'm going to do the whole thing in black. But this is no joke. You know, all you need is a scissors to put this stuff up. If you wanted to, you could tie it with a string if you're going to wrap, let's say, peaches or different fruits or vegetables or something, or masking tape. You could just put a little masking tape around. You could tie it. Sometimes I cut a piece off and just tie it. If I did not figure out to start using tool, I wouldn't have half. I mean, this is no joke. At least half would be gone for the squirrels and everything. The other thing I wanted to discuss with you on this is I've had some people go, oh my gosh, I'm going to cover the whole yard. I'm going to fence my property. I'm going to cover the chimney. No. Don't do that. Cover what you want to save. If you're trying to save something like kale, drape it along the top, tie it. If you're trying to save seeds, drape it on top of the seeds and then tie it. That's what you want to do. If you covered your entire yard, and like we live up in an area where we've got all kinds of critters around here. You're in the city, probably you don't have as many critters as we do. If you covered everything and gave these little guys nothing to eat at all, and they couldn't find any food, they would find out very quickly that this is nothing. Right now, it's got very tiny weaving. This is like a nylon and it's very tiny. And when they touch it, a rabbit, I've seen a rabbit touch it and spring back. You would think he hit an electric fence. He would just spring back. Because when their nail gets inside, they think it's a trap. So they just jump back. They don't want any part of it. They don't want to go near it. This is why it's so good. A bird can land on it and they don't get their nails caught. If their nail's in it, they just take their nail out. The bird netting that people buy and that you see in the stores, that's different. That is much bigger, the holes. And what's scary on that is the bird gets its foot through the netting on the big holes, and then when they try to pull through, they can't, and then they pull through another toe through another hole, and they end up getting all tangled. They cannot get tangled in this. I have never had a bird get tangled in this. Nothing's ever gotten tangled in it. Quick release. They land on it, they can't do anything, and they leave. You don't want to tool your entire yard 100%, or they will start to figure out that, you know what, we are desperate, we need to battle this thing, and we need to figure out what it is, and if they chew on it and find out they can get through it, then it's not going to work anymore. I'm going to go over, after I do the fencing, I'm going to do my fencing here first because I've been putting this off and it's something I need to do. Because the rabbit got a lot of my green sorrel. He didn't get the one I covered with the trash can, and he hasn't eaten anything here that still has tool on it. Just the part where the tool fell off. So I want to get this up, and then I'm going to take you around. We'll talk again about how I'm using it, even new ways I'm using it, because if it wasn't for tool, I wouldn't have watermelon this year, because the tool saved my watermelon plant. I would have lost my plant. So let me get this up, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to put this together in no time. I'm going to remove the old tool. The old tool will get in the garbage. It's going in the garbage. I'm not saving it for anything. If any part of it is still good, I'll save pieces because you can wrap small fruit with it or drape it over something. But if it's not any good, it's so cheap, I'm going to throw it in the garbage. I'm going to get the new tool up. And I'm not going to remove the stakes. The stakes are fine. We're going to leave the stakes on it. These are tomato stakes with pom-poms on top that I glued with a hot glue gun. Can you imagine? It's been on for well over a year. And that hot glue gun has held those pom-poms. The reason I have pom-poms on top of the stakes, long story short, when I was a kid, I had a racing car set and I needed some weight for a car. So my dad ran out like 11 o'clock at night because he knew he had pieces of metal somewhere. And he ran out in the yard, he came in and he had bent over on a piece of metal, a metal rod. He couldn't see it in the dark and he cut his eyebrow open. So because of that, because he didn't see it, and had it been covered with something, he wouldn't have cut himself. I always kept that in my mind that I don't want stakes just sitting out. So with the pom-pom, you know, if you bend over and you catch it, you're going to catch the pom-pom. You're not going to catch your eye. And I'm just thinking because I do roam around the yard at night. My dad was fine. He ended up driving himself to the hospital. He got 3 stitches. My mother went with him, screamed all the way. Front seat. He had to drive, holding his head, his eyebrow, and my mother was in hysterics. I get in hysterics, but I usually do it afterwards. I get what has to be done. She went into hysterics, so he drove himself to the hospital, got his 3 stitches, came home, went out in the yard. Now it was like 1 o'clock in the morning and got me that piece of metal and still fixed my racing car after he came home from the hospital. These days you go to the hospital, you can be there 6 to 8 hours. Back then, when I was a kid, you go in and you're out. So he was home quite quick with 3 stitches and back to work. Let's get this done. I've talked too much already. So off with the old tool. It's been like 2 years almost. And I'm getting rid of it because it is, you know, long worn, sun beaten. It's starting to fall apart. Now, any part that's good, I am going to keep. Here I'm just pulling it all off. Let's get it off, bundle it up, get it out of the way. When I put this tool up, I used dowels to hold the weight down because I didn't want it to fly, but I'm taking the dowels and the stakes out. I need those. Stakes are valuable to me right now to put in the plants. So I took all the stakes out and got everything rolled up and out of my way. I had a different idea on how I was going to stake it up this time as far as weights, holding it so it doesn't blow in the wind. The stakes I have there with the pom-poms on it are perfect. It doesn't tear the tool. And last time I cut the tool in half and I close pinned the top and I put stakes on either side of the bricks. This time I did it completely different. You'll see as I'm putting it up. What I ended up doing is just unrolling the tool, putting it on one side, not cutting it at all. Remember, it's 54 inches wide. And I pushed it down with the wood chips down on the back side where the rabbit hangs out. And this time I draped it over the tomato stakes that are there with the pom-poms because it's not going to tear through. The pom-poms are soft. If it was sharp, yes, it would eventually work its way through, but the pom-poms never did last time. So I figured I'm going to drape it this time. So here I go. I'm unrolling it, got everything out of the way, and you'll see I am going to drape it. I didn't even use all that much, really, when you think about it. I just had to cut what I need for the entire length, but no extra cutting, no down the middle like I did last time. Extra work I don't need, wasn't important. So what I'm doing here is I'm zip tying on the back side where the rabbit is, on that part of the yard, not where I'm standing, because it's kind of a drop. You can see it, where I'm standing has a drop. So I'm zip tying the tool on, and I'm going to zip tie all the way the length of the, let's say, the fence that I'm putting by the blocks. And zip tie is easier. You can use bread ties, whatever you want to do. You've got a needle and thread, you want to tie it that way. Whatever works for you, you know, but zip ties is the cheapest, easiest, fastest way for me. So I'm going to zip tie it top and bottom on the, I don't know if you want to call it inside, I'll just say the rabbit yard. I'm going to zip tie it on that side where that big old rabbit hangs out. And this way I can't open it on that side, and that's fine. I'm going to open it from where I'm standing. So it doesn't take that many zip ties, one on the bottom, and if I want, one on the top. And I just unrolled it all the way the length so I knew how much I needed. It's that easy. And continued to kind of make sure it's a little snug. And this time I'm not going to put stakes. I put wooden stakes, tomato stakes, rolled it into the tool and zip tied them in. This time I'm not going to. I'm just pushing the wood chips up against it because he'll come up to it, the rabbit or rat. They'll touch it and they don't want to touch it, so they'll back off. So I'm just not even going to do that extra step. Now let me tell you, I have no idea why it took me 3 weeks to get this video up. It is standing and beautiful, and it worked great. The rabbit doesn't bother anything anymore, so I can tell you for sure it's worked here. So there I am, zip tying all the back stakes up against the yard where the rabbit hangs out, that upper portion. And now it's just a matter of cutting off the rest. See, I just cut it off. Look at that. I used nothing in that bolt. 40 yards. I've got all that to use for something else. I think that black looks phenomenal. It's beautiful, that color. Now, what I'm going to do here is zip tie around the top. And when I want to get into it to service it, where I'm standing, it's that easy. It's just draped over the poles. I just lift it. It's that easy. And I ended up coming up with a way that I made the weights. And what I ended up doing, and see, I'm just kind of looking it over here and tucking things around. You know, I go step by step. I put something up and I decide how I'm going to do it. And I clothespin it right now. I clothespin the clothespins to the stakes. The stakes are on both sides of the blocks. They're actually in the blocks, but they're on both sides of the blocks. So you've got that space of the blocks of what, maybe 6 inches? So it works really good. But I ended up putting some weights on there. You know, you could do it any way you want. But look, it's done. And I'll show you with the weights. You take the tool. Don't believe I threw it away. I didn't. You take the tool and you bundle up some rocks in a piece of tool. And you can tie it with a string. Or you can use masking tape if you want. Or you can just tie a knot. And then just take the little weights of the rocks, and what you're going to do is use that to hold the tool on the side that I'm standing, and it worked perfect. And it's been holding it. This way I can still unclip it, lift it up, plant whatever I want in there, and that's all there is to it. It was just so easy to do. I am done, and I looked at the time, and it took me about less than 15 minutes to do this. Now, I did do it differently than last year. I hadn't planned on doing it this way. This is the way gardening is. You get out there, you're determined to do something, and then all of a sudden, you change your mind. I did it easier. Now, last year, see all these stakes? I put stakes in as a weight. I did it much harder last year. I split the top. I split it in half. I left the top open here. And then I had stakes on both sides holding the tool to the ground. But I looked at it as I started, and I really had no idea how I was going to do this. It's the way my mind works. I realized, wait a minute. If I want to drop these long stakes in for weights, I can do it here if I need it. I can wait and see what happens. And on the front, or I could put it on the front, but I ended up using clothespins. I was clothespinning the top to keep the birds out before and other things out. Now what I do is I undo the clothespins and I lift it. Then I can just lift it, throw it over, get in there and work with what I want to work on, and then just toss it back. So I could put some weights. I could use more clothespins on the front. I could put a couple, just fold it and put a few rocks to hold it as far as weights. Anything to hold, see the tool? Anything to hold the tool. I can just put some sticks in here or weights or rocks and then it will hold it. But it is all done now. And you know, if you step back and look at it, I'm going to have to say, once it's cleaned up and get rid of all the trash in the back there, I am going to throw away the old tool. It's not worth it. I didn't even use anything. What did I use? 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 yards? Wow. I used nothing on that roll. 40 yards they give you, and let's say I use 6 yards. That's unreal. And it's done. It looks good. The plants will grow. Look how easy I can see the plants through the black tool. I like the color black in the garden. So if you end up looking and going to buy some and you can't find green, go at black, because black blends all your plants and everything together, and it has a really nice, clean look. And I am very pleased with that. So now let's walk around and let me show you and tell you some of the new ways that I have been using tulle, not just for fencing and not just for covering up for birds, but other ways I have figured out I can get rid of critters to leave my food alone and keep them out so everybody is happy. So as you know, I have so many uses for tulle. I wrap watermelon and different fruits with it just to keep critters off. Also use the tulle as a support. I can use the tool by tying it on to whatever's supporting the watermelon plant or whatever plant and tying the tool onto that. As far as fruit, I have saved so many figs, which the birds love, by wrapping it in different ways. Whether I am going to just throw it on there, tie it around, use masking tape, use string, use clothespins, whatever it takes, I use tool. If the leaves are in the way, go ahead and trim them off and then just wrap it around because they don't need all the leaves around there. Remember, if the plant doesn't need to be pollinated anymore, you're good to go on as far as covering it. I use bits and pieces of tool just to wrap around trunks of different plants, like different types of dinosaur kale or different types of kale. My dazzling blue kale I had to wrap. I don't know what was crawling up it at night and eating it to pieces, but just wrapping the trunk of it worked and it got rid of whatever critters. Could have been snails or slugs or worms or who knows. It worked. Put it around other plants like my sprouting broccoli when I first planted it. Something was eating that too. It worked on that. Just push it around. I even push it around plants that are in the ground. Celery sometimes, it keeps the snails and slugs away from it, so I use it on that. My Korean melons are sweet like sugar, and believe you me, everything wants it, so I wrap those. And if you've got tomato problems, just wrap it around whatever way you want. Remember, once the tomato's growing, it's done pollinating, just go ahead and wrap your fruit. A little masking tape and it will hold it till it's ready to go. The sun can go through it and ripen it beautifully. My seedlings, I start seedlings in containers in the yard as well as in the ground, and everything loves seedlings. Birds eat the seedlings and other critters eat seedlings. Cover it with tool. If you need a quick fence, I have taken a stake, put some tool on it, and I can make a quick fence. But something on my deck was bothering some of my plants, especially my watermelon. It was determined to go every night and dig up my watermelon. I was going to lose that plant. I'd have to go out there and cover it every day. And I thought one of these days it's going to tear through the roots and I will not have a watermelon plant. So I got him this time because the tool wasn't keeping him away. He would push it away and go next to it. So what I ended up doing was taking the tool with a little vinegar in a container, and I poured a little vinegar. You probably could use a spray bottle. I didn't have one, so I just poured it in a container, and I put the tool in it and kind of swished the tool around so all the tool would pretty much have that vinegar smell. And let me tell you something, it smells and it doesn't taste good. Just kind of shook it out. I didn't even wait for it to dry. Just wrung it out, shook it out, and I then laid it around the plant. That rat, and I'm assuming it was a rat, did not come back. He must have come back that night and took one whiff of that and said, oh, she's got horrible stuff in this garden. I don't want it. And he left it alone. Completely left it alone. I only did it for about 3-4 days, enough that he would remember that that is not the place to, go. And because of that, I now have watermelon growing. Not only the little small one, but that big one that I would never have had because he would have ended up destroying that plant. So if you've got bits and pieces around, don't throw them away. Sometimes they say I'm going to toss them. I only toss them if it's brittle and it's no good. Otherwise, I save them and use them for different things. So that was it. I hope I've given you some ideas how to work in the garden, save your garden. You won't have to use any pest control as far as insect spray or anything. You won't have to worry about bird netting because that can be dangerous to birds. This has been one of my biggest lifesavers, and Gary's using it too. And just think about it, it's worth a try, $10. I'll put the link below on where I get mine. You can get it anywhere. You can get it at Joann's, I think it's nationwide. You can probably find it online anywhere. The cheapest place I have found it is the place that I've been buying it, and it's on eBay. It's usually $9.99 a bolt, but if you buy 4, it drops down to something like $8. You can't beat it, and it's not going to go bad. I have so much of it now. So I hope I've given you ideas. I want you to garden. We all need to grow something. We don't have to grow everything, but we all should grow something. So with that, black is the new green. I hope you enjoyed this video, and well, I'm quite pleased with this fence. I don't know why it took me so long to get this done, and I wanted to get it done. I thought, oh, it's going to take me forever. Look at that. I'm really happy with it. Have a great day. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye. Now, I can go work on hummingbirds. Sorry, bee. Don't get mad at me. I dropped it. Go away.